There's something so weird about the way this generation in particularly romanticizes pain. Why do we dress up something that is inherently toxic and call it passion? What? We tell ourselves that these situations are examples of loyalty, examples of growth, examples of fate, or something like equally as delusional. I don't understand. All that is pure self-abandonment. Hi guys, welcome to Her Venom. Thank you so much for joining me today, especially on the first episode. How lucky are you to listen to the first episode of Her Venom? If you're expecting me to hold your hand throughout any of these episodes, I will not be, okay? I do think that there is a time and place for that stuff, but that's not really what this podcast is all about. I've created this space because I want you guys to realize that perception is so powerful, okay? The way in which we interpret certain events shapes how we feel about those certain events. So say something happens to you and you view this thing that happened as something that's bad. You'll probably feel sad, angry, whatever it is. But you have the power to change your perception on things that happen to you. So you can view a situation as bad, but as soon as you view it as something that's good and something that's actually served you or something that saved you, then you notice that anger, that sadness turns into gratitude. It turns into happiness. It turns into positivity. It turns into, wow, I can't believe this happened for me, not to me. Because if it didn't happen for me, I wouldn't be in this position that I'm in right now. Just like how if I didn't go through the things that I went through in my life and changed my perception on those things, I wouldn't be here creating this space, speaking to you guys on a podcast named Her Venom. Welcome. I would love it if you can walk away from each episode learning something. That would be great. I don't care if the only thing you've learned is the fact that I'm British. As long as it's something, I've done my job. So let's get right into today's episode. Stop Romanticizing Losers. And I know that title probably stung a bit for some of you guys, but listen, usually the truth hurts. Ladies in particular, we need to stop seeing men for something that they are not. So if you resonate with this title, you have likely been in the position where you have confused someone's dysfunction as destiny. Yeah, that person that just came to your mind, that's exactly who I'm talking about, that loser. And we're going there. We are going there because way too many of us women have been writing love stories about men who don't even deserve to be in the preface. Let's say you're writing an autobiography, right, of your life. If you wouldn't dedicate an entire chapter to a loser, why are you dedicating a moment in real time to a loser? Enough. And that person that just came to your mind, have you noticed that there is always a gap between who that person truly is and who you want them to be? There's always a gap between the relationship that you have and the relationship that you dream of. And listen, I get it. Sometimes the hardest lessons we learn in life are from betting on people who couldn't even bet on themselves. Nevertheless, let's get into it. Whether you're listening to me on your favorite podcast streaming platform thingamabob or you're watching me on YouTube, grab your favorite snack, take a seat, and lock the in. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth first. I feel like if we start bad, it can only get better from here. Ladies, sometimes we don't fall for the man, okay? What we do fall for is the idea of who he could be. And yeah, sure, you may be thinking, oh, well, if he loves me enough, he'll change. And he may be thinking, oh, well, if she loves me enough, she'll wait for me to change. First of all, no, she won't. No, you will not. Second of all, as soon as you realize why love is never enough and people only change when they want to change, you cannot make another person change. Okay? Doesn't matter who you are, you can't make another person change. Love is never enough. And as soon as you realize that, the easier it will be for you to navigate these types of relationships. You can have so much love for someone, but have the deep inner knowing that this person is not your person. You can be in love with someone and still have the wisdom to walk away, because you know that this situation, this person, is not respecting you the way you deserve to be respected. Your self-respect must be louder than your feelings in this situation. And this potential that we see in men doesn't have as much to do with love as we may think. I'm about to expose the girls here. Sorry, it's purely for research purposes, but I have to say, we start the romanticizing process very, very early on, okay? Sometimes before we've even met this man. Whether we're scrolling on social media and we see a man, whether your friend comes up to you and she's like, hey, I know this guy, you may think he's cute, he's definitely your type, here's a picture or a video. As soon as you lay eyes on that man, the gears start turning. How many kids are we going to have? When are we going to get married? We'll go here on our honeymoon, yada, 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 yada. Am I going to be a stay-at-home mum? Oh my gosh, is he going to provide for me? All these questions, all these things are already starting before we've even met the man. We literally will look at someone and immediately we'll start thinking like, is this man going to be my future husband? Obviously, falling in love is a highly individual experience. Everybody's different. But studies have shown that on average, it takes women about 3 to 4 months to fall in love with a man. So we can't factually say that she sees your potential because she loves you, because we're also capable of seeing the potential of a man who doesn't even know we exist. So also think about your friend who has a new boyfriend every other week. It seems like every day she's got a new story about a new guy. She swears she's in love with him. She swears she sees a future with him. She's not in love with him. She's in love with his potential that she has created in her head. She doesn't even know him. She doesn't even know him. How do you know after a week of knowing someone that it's your future husband? Love at first sight. It's not love at first sight, man. It's attraction at first sight. It's lust at first sight. It's not love. Why do women, especially strong, sensitive, and intuitive women, always fall into that potential trap? Well, I'll tell you why. As women, we are conditioned to nurture. Obviously, this can be attributed back to biological factors. The hormone oxytocin is responsible for this, and it's often attributed as the bonding and nurturing hormone. It's actually more prevalent in women than it is in men. Think about gender roles. As soon as we take our first breath on earth, we are already assigned that nurture. His love for a woman. We are socialized into these gender roles. Like, as girls, we're always taught to be kind, be caring, ladylike, whatever that fucking means. But boys will just be boys. He'll grow out of it eventually. Wake up and start teaching these little boys how to treat women with respect the same way you're teaching these little girls how to be caring and nurturing despite the disrespect they show us. Although biology provides a foundation to a woman's capacity to nurture, it's really the societal factors and what we are socialized into and what we are taught that shapes the way these innate tendencies are expressed and perceived. And this is exactly where it gets sticky, because as women, we tend to see a man's potential as proof of something, proof that he has depth and we were the chosen one to unlock that depth. Ladies, we are not nurturing in these circumstances. We are projecting. We are loving a future that doesn't even exist. And in doing so, you are abandoning the present version of yourself that actually needs love, real love, grounded love, reciprocal love. And just reflecting on why we do tend to romanticize these literal reincarnations of Satan. What if your fixation on someone else's potential has more to do with your own sense of inadequacy? What if we are trying to earn our worth by being the one who changed him? Why is it your job to carry that transformation? You're not his therapist, you're not his probation officer, and you most certainly are not his mother. I see way too many women out there mothering their loser-ass boyfriends. Cut it out and cut him off. Healing him makes us feel needed, right? And us feeling needed makes us feel loved, until it doesn't. Until you realize your skin is dull, you're having acne breakouts all of a sudden, your fucking hair is falling out, and it's probably due to another human being literally draining your life source. It is not love if it costs you your peace. This is why I said earlier that potential is a trap. The hardest pill to swallow is that you're not in love with him. You're in love with who you think he could be, his potential. There's a quote by Mel Robbins that's really applicable in this situation. And she says, people will show you exactly who they are. It is your job to pay attention. And who he's likely showed himself to be, based on his actions or lack of action, is probably a fucking loser. Remember that gap I talked about as well? You're addicted to it. The space between his reality and your fantasy, you're addicted to it. And listen, some people do grow. Some men do wake up, they do grow, they change, and they get their shit together. But that growth is not yours to initiate. It's his. And if he doesn't choose that growth himself, anything you build with him is just a house on wet sand. And that savior complex that you feel in this situation feels great, feels noble. But it's also often just our egos. Like, we want to be the one who turns a beast into a prince. We want to be the ones that makes a player settle down into a relationship. But ladies, if he needs saving, he's not your partner, okay? He's your project. Relationships should be mutual evolution, not emotional CPR. And do I look like I'm certified in first aid? Maybe, but I'm not. And most certainly, I'm not certified in fucking emotionally providing for a man who doesn't know his ass from his elbow. If you are doing most of the emotional labor, you are not in a relationship. You're like in a rescue mission with no escape plan. Hashtag Mayday, Houston, we have a problem, and it's your loser boyfriend. And I can already hear some of you girls saying, Sadie, I can't help it. I can't help but see his potential. I can't help but see the good person he might be deep down inside. Let me say this very, very clearly. You are the one who makes someone special, not them. What you see in other people and in other things is a reflection of what lies within you. That's a fact. If you are in a good headspace, likely everything else in your environment, you're going to associate that with something good as well. If you are in a bad headspace, everything in your environment sucks. Babes, you are the sun and the stars, and he is merely passing in your sky. The potential gap is nothing but an illusion. It's not real. You're literally giving main character energy to a background extra. Do you see how that does not make any sense? If you want to look at it this way, scientifically, something that is considered real is something that can be observed and measured and tangible in the physical world. What are you observing about this man? Based on things that you are seeing in real time in the real world, not what's up here. So how do we define a loser and ultimately avoid them at all costs? A loser will sell you a dream and deliver a nightmare. And God forbid you react to that nightmare. Oh no, you can't show that you're horrified with what he's given you. No, 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 no. Not when you're dealing with a loser. No. Losers aren't just people who are broke and aimless, all right? Losers aren't just people who have no life goals, no motivation, no self-awareness, just sit on their ass all day and expect everyone to do everything for them and everything to come to them. Those are very obvious signs of a loser. But a loser is also someone who drains, blames, and shames. Because it is so much easier for a loser to label your reaction than to address his action that caused it. Losers will mirror your light and siphon off your energy. And then when they have drained you, literally sucked you dry of everything you have emotionally, mentally, physically, they go off and find someone similar, if not the exact same as you, and drain them too. Losers will simultaneously punish you for loving them and then have the audacity to blame you for leaving them. Because deep down, they don't believe that they are deserving of the love you're giving them. And then eventually, they end up giving you the pain you didn't deserve for trying to give him the love he never had. And when you are in a relationship with a loser, you will soon realize that these types of men are nasty and needy. They are bold enough to be reckless with their conduct and then expect support from you. That doesn't make any sense. That is not fair. Because if you were to return the same energy that they gave to you, guess who becomes a victim? And guess who becomes the bad person? You're the bad person, and they are the victim. And these losers still believe that they deserve a good woman. And let me tell you something. These bad people deserve nothing. You deserve nobody. Because they probably had something good before they went and ruined it. What does Kanye West say in Runaway again? I could have me a good girl and still be addicted to them hood rats. And I blame everything on you, at least that's what I'm good at. Something along those lines. A loser's biggest fear is being left behind or forgotten because it literally fucks with his ego. He doesn't think that he's good enough already. It's almost kind of like it's a manifestation of how he already feels about himself. Unworthy, unlovable, undeserving. And you know what? It's actually very, very sad that someone can think so low of themselves to the point where their actions start to negatively impact those closest to them. There was a study done by David McClelland at Harvard, and he found that 99% of our failures can be associated with the people we surround ourselves with. If that's not one of the scariest facts you've ever heard in your life, but it also goes to show that, don't let a loser be the cause of your own demise. Don't let a loser bring you so far down to their level that you stop growing, that you stop achieving things that you want to achieve, that you stop succeeding in areas of your life that you've always wanted to excel in. I'm going to bring in one of my favorite authors ever, Robert Greene. In his book, The 48 Laws of Power, he says in law number 10, avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. You can literally die from someone else's misery. Do not let a loser bring you to their level, energetically, emotionally, mentally, physically. Do not let it happen. Because losers want what you have. That's why they siphon off your energy. That's why they drain you for everything and anything that you have. I don't think we realize that emotional states, just like diseases, can spread. Associating with those who are unhappy, miserable, project their insecurities all day, all night, can lead to very negative consequences for yourself. So again, do not let a loser be the cause of your own demise. They will hold you back, they will drag you down, and they will destroy you the same way they destroy themselves daily. Losers have a sixth sense because they can literally feel a woman's light. I have had men literally tell me that they started seeing a girl, dating a girl, whatever, because they liked the fact have nothing to compare it to if it's their first relationship. These types of losers are the ones who turn women into literal demons. If you've ever met an evil woman, okay, best believe a man is likely at the root cause of that. Boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, whatever. It's usually because a man drove her into that place. And that girl who has that naive, innocent view on love, I was once that girl. And I know so many women who are listening to this were once that girl too. And they gave a chance at love to this loser. And because I and many other women know exactly what it's like to be that girl, I'm going to tell you what happens when you attach your spirit to someone who can't even find their own. Losers don't know who they are, so they try to define themselves through you. Your light becomes their mask. Your soul becomes their battery. And they will drain you. And because they are so attracted to your light and want it so bad, they obsess over you to a point of concern. Like, I would argue that obsession isn't something that's good because it can get very scary. Anything you love, they love 10 times harder. Anything about you, like your ethnicity, your culture, all of a sudden they're in there like swimwear. They know the fucking capital of where you're from. They know the history of all the sports teams there. It's literally insane. It's crazy. But they want what you have so bad, so they obsess over anything and everything about you. They obsess over what makes you you, because then they think if they obsess over what you are all about, that they will maybe one day be regarded in such a high light the same way you are. So I actually saw a quote on Instagram the other day, and it said, "Broke boys always want to discuss business." And it is literally the same thing as losers. Losers always overpromise and underdeliver because their words are the only thing that they can deliver. They know that they can't give you results. They know that they can't reach your expectations. They know they can't live up to your standards. And the reality is, you likely lowered your standards and they still can't even reach them. Please. But oftentimes, losers aren't stupid. They know this about themselves. And because they know this about themselves, he will say just about anything to keep you clinging onto that gap, the illusion of what you want him to be. He'll be like, "Oh yeah, like I'll make more of an effort here. I'll do this for you." You ain't doing shit because you can't. You literally don't have the capability to do that. So stop pretending. And unfortunately for us, women, we tend to fall for what we hear. Men tend to fall for what they see. And this is one of the only times I will say we need to take a page out of a man's book. That actually really hurt to say. But we do. Stop falling for the bullshit that these losers are spewing out the sides of their mouths every now and again. And start falling for what he's showing you. An excuse for a man trying to be something that he's not. And in turn, bringing you down with him. Because this is the truth. A man's message, his words, are who he wants to be. A man's actions are who he is. A real man is a man of his word. A man that is worth your emotional investment is a man that does what he says he's going to do. Can I get an amen, a snapper, snappers? Yes. Because one day you will realize that you have dimmed your light, you have dimmed your brilliance just to keep the peace. You've stopped growing just to make sure he doesn't feel small. And do you know what the craziest thing is, the biggest kicker? When a loser feels safe, guess what he does? He sabotages it. Oh, isn't that so good? He sabotages it. Everything you did to make him not feel small, he still finds a way to fuck that up too. Why? It's unfamiliar to him. It's unfamiliar. Deep down, he doesn't think that he is deserving of you. He doesn't think he's deserving of this. So he ruins it. When a man lacks self-esteem, self-love, he ends up hurting the woman who loves him the most. And I will say it again. When a man lacks self-esteem, he hurts the woman who loves him the most. So instead of appreciating what he has, like a normal person, he chases temporary distractions and temporary sources of validation. Because deep down, he does not value himself. How can you expect a man who doesn't even value himself to value you? And then once they're done sabotaging it, they need someone to blame. Who can guess who that is? You. Yes. Everything is your fault, according to a loser. Why is everything your fault? Because they put all of their validation in you. They probably have nothing else going on for them, and are likely being invalidated in every other area of their life. So they rely on you to make them feel better about everything. Everything. I have literally had a man tell me, and I quote, "I didn't see you as a person outside of this relationship." I'll give you all a second to pick your jaws up off the ground. Yes, a human being with a beating heart said to me, "I did not see you as a person outside of this relationship." That is a perfect example of a loser who sees another human being as a vessel for their own validation and nothing else. And then when you fail to validate their invalid thoughts, their invalid actions, their invalid projections, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. Understand that you are no longer their equal. You're their emotional trash can. And it's ironic because a lot of losers actually tend to have narcissistic traits. And I want to say there's a difference between being a narcissist and having narcissistic traits. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not diagnosing anyone on this podcast. But listen, if the shoe fits, I don't know what you want me to say. For example, let's say one day I go, "Hi, Mr. Loser, you stabbed me in the chest with a very sharp knife. That really hurt." And a loser's response may go something along the lines of, "That actually didn't happen. And if it did happen, it's not a big deal. And if it is a big deal, it wasn't my fault. And if it was my fault, I didn't mean it. And if I did mean it, you made me do it." Losers lack accountability. They lack responsibility. Everything is everybody else's fault. Everyone's coming for them. The world is against them. Yada, yada, yada. Blah, blah, blah. Boring. And just for reference, you can really only use that, "well, you did this to me" argument if it's actually applicable in the situation. For example, if I'm complaining that you stabbed me in the chest, but I stabbed you in the chest last week, yeah, that would make sense for you to be like, "Listen, man, you don't have a leg to stand on. You actually did this to me, if not worse." That's really the only time where "you made me do it" or "well, you did this" argument is valid, in my opinion at least. You also need to check who a loser surrounds themselves with, because the likelihood of them surrounding themselves with other losers is very, very high, okay? I'm sure many of you have heard this quote, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." In other words, birds of a feather flock together. I know a lot of us have heard that for sure. So if you're dealing with a man who's always around others who lie, cheat, make excuses, best believe, my love, that is the standard. Just like birds, losers flock together. They thrive in dysfunction because they can't survive accountability. These are the same type of men who are self-proclaimed, emotionally unavailable, toxic demons. Just say you have the mental capacity of a 5-year-old. Oh, guys, I'm just fighting demons. I'm going through a lot. Is that like the tagline for the toxic men community? I feel like every segment I go into, I'm always like, "Oh, you know what the worst part is? Oh, do you know what's even worse?" Well, do you know what the worst part is, guys? The biggest losers that you will come across in your life have like this ironic God complex. Like they genuinely think they are the greatest thing since sliced bread. All that truly is them trying to convince themselves and other people that they're not like a low-life piece of shit. Oh my God, they'll literally be like, "I'm just that guy. Ask about me. Ask about me. I'm just that guy." Like, we did ask about you. They said you were of no morals, broke little homie who doesn't know how to act. You're definitely not the guy you think you are. You're the guy no one takes seriously. You're a joke. You're a loser. There's also something that I really, really want to stress here. Many of these losers, they don't hate you. Girls, the loser that you are dealing with or that you once dealt with in the past that you are now free from, congratulations by the way, they never hated you. They hate and hated the fact that they need you. They feel powerless. So they punish those who make them feel seen. Their self-worth is so incredibly fractured that they mistake care for control. They see vulnerability as weakness. They fight you and then call it independence. They've likely used a combination of words such as, "Okay, then leave. I don't need you." Or, I don't care. You clearly never loved me / love me. But then on the same token, they'll say, if I make you feel so bad, then why are you here? Why do you think she's here? How dare you question why she is still here when all you do is drag her through the pits of hell? Clearly, she loves something about you. It may be your potential, but it's still about you. And you know what all of that is? Projection. Losers project, and project. Whatever he is constantly accusing you of with no evidence, you've given him no reason to not trust you. It's because he is doing that very same thing he thinks you're doing. He accuses you of cheating, go through his phone. Seriously. Whatever skewed perceptions he has on what you decide to do with your life is him projecting his insecurities onto you. I'm talking so much with my hands right now because I'm very passionate about this one segment. Some girls aren't even allowed to post themselves without being made feeling like they're some kind of disgusting hoe trying to show off for everyone. And I'm not talking about girls who post provocative pictures. If you're a man and you're uncomfortable with your girl posting her boobs and her ass in every picture on Instagram, I completely get that, and I do think that's valid for you to express concern about that. That's not what I'm talking about though. Because what do you mean I can't post a picture of me smiling without you thinking I'm trying to advertise myself for male attention? He's sick. He's sick and twisted. Sick and twisted. So attention all losers. Do not date a bad bitch if you won't let her be a bad bitch. Especially if you're in the service industry. I was hanging out with a couple guy friends a month or two ago. And I asked them, if your girl was receiving male attention, but she works as a server or a bartender, those people rely heavily on their tips, right? And being nice usually gets you more tips. So without a line being crossed, how do you guys feel about that? And all of them said they would never stand in the way of how their girl gets their money. Obviously within reason. Because guess who she's coming home to? Not the guy who was flirting and gave her $100 tip. She's going home to her man. And guess whose money they're using for takeout that night? The guy who gave her a $100 tip. Thank you for dinner. In all seriousness though, this is literally how love becomes war. You're out here negotiating for crumbs while he's out there acting like a king. They're actually just little boys in grown skin, hiding behind charisma and chaos, yet we still romanticize it. Their inconsistency is not mystery. Their bare minimum is not effort. And you can bet he's a mama's boy too. Dude, it's bad. The mama's boy epidemic needs to be addressed. Any story I've heard from one of my girlfriends when they talk about the worst man they've ever met in their entire life, one thing that is consistent with them is that they are a mama's boy. And it makes sense because mama's boys are overcoddled, emotionally unequipped, and expect every woman to treat them the same way mummy did. They expect the same unconditional love that their mother gave them from every other woman, and to never, ever suffer the consequences of their own actions. Because men don't lose access to their mum unless she's taken away from them, right? So a man that expects that from every other woman as well is definitely a man who has a screw loose or two. That's not normal. It's not normal, guys. It's really not. Those videos you see on TikTok or Instagram, YouTube or whatever, a woman has just caught her man cheating or found out that her man was cheating on her. And the man is just screaming, crying, throwing up. That's a mama's boy. Because he didn't expect his girl to have some self-respect and leave him after finding out that he was stepping out on her. Come on. You can't be that stupid. Anyways, let's talk about ego. So remember how I said that women are taught to nurture? Yeah, so men are literally taught the exact opposite. Yeah, it's so good for us women. We just keep winning out here. It's really good for us. Freud's explanation of ego states the following. It's the component of personality that acts as a mediator between the ID's impulsive desires and the superego's moral constraints. all while navigating the demands of the external world. So in other words, the male ego isn't just a reflection of the individual self, it's also a reflection of cultural definitions of masculinity and how men should think and how men should act. So we can say that men's identities are shaped through social influences. Think back to us being the average of the 5 people we spend most of our time with. Men and women are taught very different things when it comes to what defines our value within society and within ourselves, and they differ culture to culture. But the thing that stays consistent is that men are often taught that their material possessions adds to their value. Their choice of career and what level they're at in that career adds to their value. Their financial standing adds to their value. The more money a man has, the more value he has. And that's also how we view them in society. Let's be honest, girls. Are we going to go for a brokey or a millionaire? But also think about this. A guy with a Lamborghini likely has a larger ego than a guy with a Toyota Camry. But do you know what losers do? Oh, don't think I forgot about you guys. Losers use women as material possessions to add to their value and status within society. Because we all know he can't afford a Lamborghini. But at this point, can we even blame the loser? Can we even blame him for reflecting what we see every single day, especially within pop culture in the Western world? Women are used all the time to showcase a man's success. Think about music videos, especially rap music videos and hip hop. When's the last time you've seen a music video that didn't have a woman or multiple women in it? That is literally an example of men using women to show that they are of higher ranking compared to other men. Yes, men just want validation from other men. Honestly, I would even go as far to say that men crave male validation way more than women. Because men will literally treat the woman that they like or love like shit just to have another guy say, "Oh yeah, that was cool, man. Oh yeah, you got that girl's number. Oh yeah, you're so cool." You're not cool for that. You're a bitch. As a man, you're doing something to get the validation from another man. Like, all they want to hear is another man praise them for doing something slimy, even if it's at the expense of their girl. Because again, like I said, losers crave validation and they will do anything to get it from anybody. Girls, losers will use you as a prop to boost their ego because they don't have the tools to do it themselves. Think about it. A broke man with a girl by his side is of higher value and status within society than a broke man who is alone. But as women, we need to check our ego as well. We always talk about, oh yeah, man's ego this and man ego's that. We're also to blame for our ego. Because like I said, we're not attracted to the man. We're attracted to how powerful we feel when someone who's emotionally unavailable starts needing us. We mistake validation for love. We want to be the exception to their rule. We don't value them. We just want them to value us. That is not love. That is your ego looking for proof that you are worthy. And babes, you have always been worthy. You have always been enough. But until you truly believe that about yourself, you will keep trying to extract your worth from people who probably can't even spell accountability. These losers, bro. Okay, let me add some nuance though. Not all losers are evil, okay? Even Satan was once an angel. They're just deeply, deeply wounded. But deeply wounded people who refuse to heal will bleed on you every single time. Men will always bring you to their level, whether that's up or down, so you choose wisely. If he's rising, he'll lift you. But if he's drowning, he'll hand you a weight and call it loyalty. Bleh. This is going to sound very corny, but it's very, very true. In order to find love, you must become love. In order to attract stability, you must embody what it means to be stable. It's a universal law that you are what you attract and you attract what you are. So you will never, ever get what you deserve until you become it. Your self-respect must be louder than your feelings every single time. Your self-worth must be more important to you than the potential that you see in a man. Your self-worth is real. Your self-worth is something you have the power to change. You do not have the power to change how a man thinks, how a man acts, and how he feels about you. Let it go. Let him go. So ask yourself, and I want you to be very, very honest. Do you truly believe that you are deserving of love without having to earn it through suffering? Stop imagining potential and start observing behavior. Your relationship is not a community service project. Your partner should be your equal, not your assignment. And the worst thing ever is finding out that everyone thinks he's a loser too, and you were the last to find out. So I really hope you heard all of those signs of a loser that I mentioned earlier in this episode, and you get out while you can, before you are stuck in that potential trap forever. Okay, ladies, let me leave you with this. If the version of him that you are in love with only exists inside your imagination, it's time to let go. Ask yourself, would you even want him if he changed? Do you want to be loved like this for the rest of your life? If you had a son and he turned out to be exactly like that loser, the guy you're thinking of, would you be proud of your son? Would you want him to be the example he shows to your future daughter as what she should accept from other men? And be prepared to let go, because losers have a tendency to try and control how others view you because they can no longer control you. They will continue to talk about you, good or bad, because when they talk about themselves, no one fucking listens. It's almost like doing damage control, trying to pick up pieces of their shattered ego, especially if you were the one to leave them. They will manipulate and lie about situations involving you to fit their own delusional narrative. They may try to make it seem like they're not hurt, or that they don't care, or even worse, that they are the victim. Fuck. Yes, losers will still want to demonize and punish you, even after you have left them. And they will find anything to do it. So don't ever go back to a loser for anything, even when you're trying to be on good terms with them, because next thing you know, they're going around telling everyone you want them back. Just because you don't like being on bad terms with anybody. Weird as hell. They're making themselves look a fool. Trust me. Everyone thinks they're going crazy as well. It's okay. It's not just you. You can sit back, relax, move on with your life, and just be glad you are no longer the woman associated with a loser. You're free, bitch. Go grab a Red Bull, spread your wings and fly. Shira7, the sprinkle lady, she said in one of her, I think it was a live stream that she was doing a couple years ago, she said, don't take offense to anything that comes out of a broke man's mouth. Same thing for a loser. Like, they are literally in survival mode. So they will do and say anything for their ego to survive. And within this attempt to survive, they will grab onto any little thing that will give them some kind of relevance in your life still. You could tell one person about the shit they put you through, and their response won't be like, damn, like I shouldn't have put her through that. It will be, oh, she's still talking about me. She still cares. Yes. Like, bro, she just called you a loser. Like, what about that is there to be proud of? But I forgot, you're starved of attention and validation. You'll literally take anything. So this is also a reminder to the losers. She will never want you back. She will never miss you. She misses having something to hold on to. The potential. A project to fix. She doesn't care about you. She's not still in love with you. She's still in love with the man that you will never become. Hope that helps. And girls, your softness deserves structure. Your love deserves leadership. You deserve to be chosen, you deserve to be considered, and you deserve to be respected. Do not ever forget that. Love yourself enough to give yourself a chance at something better. Do not go back to that loser. Do not go back and relive that cycle of misery and pain. I promise you, there is someone better out there looking for you. But they can't find you if you don't give them the chance. You have every right to move on from a person who had so many opportunities to treat you right and still chose not to. You have every right to go and find the love of your life, bitch. Go out and find him. I promise you he's out there. I promise you he is out there. Trust and surrender to the universe or God, whatever you believe in, and know that when the time is right, you will find your person. You will find your Prince Charming. That potential that you were holding on to, you will get that man in real form. I promise you. But you have to allow the space for him to come in. And never regret what you gave a loser. Ever. Never regret the grace you gave him. Never regret the love you gave him. Never, ever regret anything you gave a loser. Because one day, they're going to look back and wish they still had it. And I'm not talking about the woman he turned you into at the end of the relationship. I'm talking about the woman that gave a loser a chance at love. That woman is still in there. Do not give other people, especially losers, the power to destroy who you are authentically. If you are a lover girl, do not allow a loser to take that lover girl out of you. The only thing you're going to take from that situation with the worst man you've ever met in your entire life, the only thing you're going to take from that situation is the knowledge and wisdom that you now have to recognize the signs of a loser, to recognize the signs that someone is not worthy of the love that you are so capable of giving. Like, guys, I'll admit, I'm not evil. I am a lover girl. Being a lover girl wasn't appreciated or respected. So it took me a while to realize, like, no, I have so much love to give. So who's next? Now I'm in a position where I have the capacity to love even harder than I ever did before. Why? Because I'm now wise enough to know who deserves it. And the person who does deserve it gets that tenfold. That's what you deserve. It may not be as easy, but it is way better to learn, heal, and grow into a person who's capable of loving even more, but is now wiser in who she gives it to. You now know the patterns. You now know the red flags. So your time is no longer going to be wasted. You got it. Heal and realize that attention is not love. Attachment is not connection. And no revenge, because no one has anything good to say about a loser. And if they were that horrible to you, I can't even imagine how horrible it is to live inside their head every single day. You don't need to be understood. You need to be in integrity with yourself. And that is the most radical form of self-respect. You can still be soft and walk away. You can still be loving and say no. You can be full of empathy and still say, not me, not anymore, I'm done. And this is Her Venom. Thank you so much for listening today, guys. I really, really, really appreciate you guys being a part of this space. And I'm so excited to bring up more episodes for you guys in the future. But until then, thanks so much for listening. You'll hear me and you'll see me in the next one. Bye.